tonight. Mystery over missing journalist unraveled as police arrest hit-and-run driver who admits to hitting an unidentified person. But police say the victim is TORDUES, the slain journalist. Former Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Buratal addresses military personnel at Jaji, Kaduna State, identifies training and capacity building as pathway towards achieving utmost efficiency. Professor CHUKWUMA Soludo takes a step closer to the government house in Awka as he receives certificate of return from INEC. A United States Secretary of State to visit Nigeria and 2 other African countries next week in his first official tour of the continent. Plus, international news from our London studio.
On business news tonight, Tony Elumelu Foundation announces about 5,000 beneficiaries of its 2021 Entrepreneurship program from 54 countries across Africa.
On sports news tonight, Rivers Angels crash out of the inaugural CAF Women's Champions League despite beating Vihiga Queens of Kenya in final group game.
And from the nation's capital, a ray of hope for thousands of homeless citizens as federal government unveils portal for mass housing scheme.
We begin tonight with security matters. Former Chief of Army Staff and Nigeria's ambassador to Benin Republic, Lieutenant General Buratal, has been speaking of what he believes it will take to end insurgency and banditry in the country. According to the former army chief, there must be a sustained effort in the training of special forces in the military. He was speaking at the annual leadership lecture series held at the Infantry Corps Center, Jaji, in Kaduna State.
It is not the responsibility of the military to do internal security, strictly speaking, but the police is their own responsibility. But we have a challenge that for one reason or the other, they have their own challenges also. So since the military has been called out, they should take that responsibility, carry the police, carry all other security agencies along in order to harness those capacities. The police has perfect, excellent intelligence. The Department of State Security Service also, they have very good intelligence. And when these things are combined with the physical or the kinetic approach, with the use of special forces rather than conventional approach to warfare now, if those things are combined, be rest assured the challenges of insecurity will be a thing of the past. And there must be continuous maintenance of security approaches, operations, and motivation, because it's not a one-off situation. It must be continuous. As long as there are criminals, as long as there are kidnappers, there are armed robbers, there are bandits, there are terrorists, the troops, the security agencies must be on the alert at all times.
For the Minister of Defense, Major General BASHIR Magashi, who was among dignitaries at the event, the Infantry Corps must stand up to be counted as the nation deals with its security challenges.
For the operational, tactical, and junior cadre infantry officers, as well as the non-commissioning officers here, I wish to remind you of your enormous responsibility to lead the way and end the ongoing insecurity challenges across the country. Let me further reiterate that the task before the armed forces of Nigeria cannot be achieved single-handedly by one corps or service alone. The Infantry Corps must therefore leverage inter-corps operations across the horizontal as well as vertical nexus of Nigerian Army, combat arms, combat support arms, and combat service support elements.
Politics now. The winner of the November 6th and 9th governorship election in Anambra State, Professor CHUKWUMA Soludo, and his deputy, Dr. AKABUEZE, have been presented with their certificate of return by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. INEC presented the documents to State headquarters of INEC in Awka, Anambra State. INEC's National Commissioner, Mr. Festus Okoye, presented the certificate to the APGA candidates in the presence of other stakeholders, including supporters of the ruling All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA. Professor Soludo dedicated the victory to the people of the state.
The spirit of Anambra lives, and we dedicate this victory to God Almighty first, but very fundamentally to the ordinary men and women of Anambra who believe, still believe, and on whose shoulders of belief and mandate we're all standing, and by the grace of God, we will never disappoint them. I want to thank in particular, in a system where, or in a society where the systems have become grossly weakened, we no longer take for granted, even when people perform what we can consider to be their duty. So we'll never take for granted the actions, the resilience, the commitment of the staff of the various federal institutions that worked all the way, were very resilient to see us to this day.
Before today's certificate presentation, Governor Willie Obiano hosted a Thanksgiving service where he once again asked the people to support the incoming government. The event was held at his country home of Aguleri, Anambra East local government area, to appreciate God for the successful governorship election.
This special Thanksgiving service is being hosted by the Anambra State Governor Willie Obiano in Aguleri, Anambra East local government area. The service is to appreciate God for his benevolence to the people of Anambra State during the November 6th and 9th elections, where APGA emerged victorious. The officiating priest delivers a homily that centers on gratitude.
The election has come and gone beyond our wildest expectations without violence. This is God's work.
For Governor Willie Obiano, Professor CHUKWUMA Soludo is a champion, and he calls for the champion song before tasking the people of Anambra State to support the incoming governor.
I've already said that this victory belongs to the Anambra. Not only people living here, but anywhere in the world, it belongs to them. And it belongs to Igbo, surprisingly. My request is that you must assist the governor. No governor does it alone.
To end his speech, the governor calls up a woman who reportedly rejected to sell her votes for money during the election and rewards her.
I especially requested that she should come, madam, for the good work you've done. You are going to get 1 million naira. So you got 1 million naira for being sincere,
Governor Obiano urges everyone to emulate the woman's character and be sincere at all times, no matter the pressure or circumstances.
Stay away from politics for a bit. It appears the mystery surrounding the disappearance and death of Vanguard reporter TORDUES Salem may have been solved, as a commercial driver said to be responsible for the death has been arrested by the police. A Force Public Relations Officer, Frank Mba, said 29-year-old Itoro Clement was arrested following an investigation carried out by the Force Intelligence Bureau. Salem's body was found on Thursday, November 11th, 2021, more than a month after he went missing. The suspect admitted to have knocked down a pedestrian at about 10 p.m., the same day TORDUES Salem went missing. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
The police are parading this man a day after the body of former Vanguard newspaper reporter Mr. TORDUES Salem was reportedly found. The police are alleging that the man, 29-year-old commercial driver Itoro Clement, is responsible for the death of late Salem. 43-year-old TORDUES Salem, an indigene of Benue State, was last seen on October 13, 2021. He had reportedly visited a garden in the Garki 2 area of the nation's capital in the company of a female relative after work. Thereafter, he went to Area 8 in the same part of Abuja, and that was the last he was seen and heard from. He was declared missing, which prompted wide reactions from his constituents, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, as well as the National Assembly. After 30 days, the police confirmed that the body of Mr. TORDUES Salem has been found at the Wuse General Hospital.
On interrogation, Itoro Clement stated clearly that on the night of 13th October 2021, the night that Henry TORDUES Salem disappeared, he had a hit and run incident. After a lot of painstaking search, a body believed to be that of Henry TORDUES Salem was found at about 11:20 a.m. at Wuse General Hospital morgue.
2 debit cards, a membership card of the NUJ, and another issued by the National Assembly Press Corps were found alongside the body.
One Prince Enyenihi, aged 25 years in Port Harcourt, is currently in one of our detention facilities in Rivers State. This young man, claiming to be a kidnapper who had actually kidnapped Henry, claiming that Henry is in his custody or is a hostage with him, and demanding a ransom of 20 million naira.
The suspect, Itoro Clement, admits knocking down an unknown person at Mabushi area the same night the late TORDUES Salem went missing, but did not stop for fear that he could be attacked.
On the 13th of October, I was coming from Jabi, going to Say Market. On my way coming, I was on 100 speed. I was coming. After the Mabuchi Bridge, going to Say Market, where those forest is, someone was crossing. The first person crossed. The second one ran into me. The person ran into me, knocked out the person. I moved on. The reason why I didn't stop in that place, they have attacked me there before. It's on my phone that same month. So I turned around to that where they have checking points to plan report that I knocked someone down. Getting there, I just stand there and talk to the police. Then I left to go and park my vehicle because my vehicle was damaged. I had injury on my hand. Where I used to park car, they know me since I started driving. I don't have a safety place where I used to park car. That's where I used to park car, pay 200 now. I park my car there. In the morning, I called Panabita to come and help me fix the car. Getting there, I found out that there was a smartphone on my windscreen where they have a wiper. Knowing nothing of the phone, because I was thinking that it's armed robber that I knocked down, because they were chasing somebody. I was thinking that it's armed robber that I knocked down, so I left. Seeing the phone there, I know nothing about the phone. I just threw the phone there, and I left.
While the latest development may seem to have settled the dust surrounding the sudden disappearance of Mr. Salem, there are several questions begging for answers, such as why did the management of the Wuse General Hospital not use the documents said to have been found on late TORDUES Salem to inform authorities that they had his remains all this while? Did they receive the body without demanding for a police report? The police say those issues will be dealt with after more facts on the matter have been gathered. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Really sad. In part two, after the break, trial of actor Olarinwaju Omiyinka, popularly known as Baba Jesha, is stalled again over absence of witnesses. Case adjourned till November 19th. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Hit-and-run driver admits to hitting an unidentified person, but police say the victim is TORDUES Salem, the journalist who went missing on October 13th. Former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General CHUKWUMA, addresses military personnel at Jaji, Kaduna State, identifies continuous maintenance of security operations as a pathway towards achieving utmost efficiency. Professor CHUKWUMA Soludo takes a step closer to the government house in Awka as he receives certificate of return from INEC. And United States Secretary of State to visit Nigeria and two other African countries next week in his first official tour of the continent. The trial of Nollywood actor Olarinwaju James, also known as Baba Jesha, over alleged sexual assault was stalled today owing to the absence of two witnesses for the Lagos State government. Counsel to the state government, Mr. Yusuf Sule, told Justice Oluwatoyin Taiwo of the Lagos State Sexual Offences Court in Ikeja that one of the two witnesses, a police officer who was due to testify, had been posted out of the jurisdiction of the court. Before adjourning further hearing on the matter till November 19th and December 2nd, Justice Taiwo asked the prosecution to put its house in order. Baba Jesha is facing a 6-count charge bordering on allegations of indecent treatment of a child, sexual assault, attempted sexual assault by penetration, and sexual assault by penetration. He has since pleaded not guilty to the 6-count charge. Meanwhile, it is day 12 since the collapse of the 21-story building in the Ikoyi area of Lagos. An evacuation of debris from the disaster site continues. Meanwhile, following the setting up of a panel of inquiry by the Lagos State government to ascertain reasons for the collapse, members of the panel today paid a preliminary visit to the site to observe firsthand the current state of the environment. They, however, declined to comment on the incident. Also, members of a committee established by the President of the Council for Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN, were also at the site where they pledged to work with the investigation committee set up by the state government to ascertain the cause of the building collapse.
So at this moment, we cannot tell you exactly what had been the cause or what is the remote or immediate cause of the failure. But as engineers, we know that when a structure, an engineering structure fails, definitely something had gone wrong. But what went wrong, we cannot say right away. But this structure that has come down is an engineering failure. And COREN is interested in investigating the engineering failure. We are not going to any other details, but to look at the engineering part of this structure. What happened? Why did it come down? And so that's what we have come to do today. We will come much later to do a more in-depth investigation. As a matter of fact, there should be a synergy between both committees, because the committee set by state government is to ensure, to find out what is the immediate and remote cause of this failure. COREN is interested to know what is the engineering, what caused the engineering failure as well. So at the end of the day, whatever the government committee comes up with and the engineering regulation body comes up with, definitely will be harmonized. The essence of the entire investigation, whether it is from the state government or from the Council for Regulation of Engineering, is to ensure that going into the future, this situation should not occur.
Yes, Terry Kumi with more news from Abuja. Hi, Terry.
Hello, Amarachi. Nigerians expecting to own their homes under the National Mass Housing Program now have a chance to do so, as the federal government will commence online sale of houses from 7.2 million naira. Speaking at the unveiling of the portal in Abuja, the Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, states that the highest selling price is 16.19 million naira, and the projects are spread across the country and the Federal Capital Territory. According to him, over 5,000 units are at different stages of completion under the program.
The least selling price for these houses will be 7.222 million. This is the least. And the highest will cost 16.491155. Now let me explain that to you. The highest is the 3-bedroom bungalow. Houses will be available in different forms, from those who want to buy and pay fully, to those who want to pay with mortgages, to those who also want to pay by rent to own. Those are matters that they will have to take up depending on the financial services that you have. If you are a subscriber to the National Housing Fund, Federal Mortgage Bank, it will be easier for you to get this rent-to-own packages and all of that. But if not, you can also interact with us through any other financial institution that we deal with. So it's not only limited to subscribers of the NHF alone.
In Edo State, the government says strategies are already in place to back its vision for the state economy, while reforms have already started in different sectors to move the state toward the Edo of the people's dreams. Governor Godwin Obaseki made these comments at the 2021 Alaghodaro Summit in Benin City, the state capital. According to him, the state is fast becoming a center of economic excellence.
A blend of professionals from different sectors dominate the assembly at the 5th Edo Investment Summit, which has a key focus propounding ideas aimed at building a sustainable future for the state.
The theme for our summit this year, Edo of our dreams, building a sustainable future, illustrates the unwavering will of this administration to receive and adopt varied views and best 21st century ideas in achieving, in the shortest possible time, the Edo of our dreams.
We must build the infrastructure that the people will be able to use to feel that, look, they can make anything possible from their rooms, wherever, and we need to think about the people of the future.
For the state governor, Godwin Obaseki, the process of building a dream Edo has been ongoing, as evident from the reforms in different sectors.
We've focused on reforming the civil and public service. First, by just improving the environment in which they work. The offices we're building for our civil servants and our public servants today go compare with anything you find anywhere in the world. Today, we have an e-procurement platform. We can tell you how much we pay for every service that government procures.
There are also clear plans for sustainability.
I can't guarantee that my successor will be able to do exactly better than I've done. It's not, because we are human. But what we can guarantee is that once we have a system that calls the leadership to account, when we have a system, when the people know and understand what to expect from government, then that will be a better guarantee to ensure that the system continues to work.
Chris, Sarah, and
The event also featured plenaries on empowering the next generation through innovation and digitalization, reinventing governance, the bottom-top approach, and the launch of the Edo 30-year plan.
As the nation grapples with declining revenue, the Director General of the Budget Office, Ben AKABUEZE, is expressing worry about the number of Nigerians who pay taxes, describing it as low. According to him, there is a plan to enforce the payment of property tax, which has the potential of boosting the nation's tax net, as against the calls to cut down on government spendings, which he says is not the solution to addressing revenue shortfall. He was addressing journalists on the 2022 budget in Abuja.
Very difficult.
The total number of Nigerians in the tax pool by the JTB records, Joint Tax Board records, is about 41 million. So there's about 30 million Nigerians out there not paying their fair share. And because of the gross informality of our economy, it's difficult to and in the absence of a unique identifier for Nigerians, now the NIN is trying to to address that, but it's difficult. There are lots of people, anonymous people, making tons of money in this economy, paying no taxes, and are just anonymous in the system. So that's one of the things that we must lead. How do we bring these people to pay their fair share?
When the news at 10 returns, Tony Elumelu Foundation announces about 5,000 beneficiaries of its 2021 Entrepreneurship program across Africa. That's on Business News. Join us again.
Welcome back. Leaders in Nigeria's Southwest region are leading discussions on new business opportunities at the OODUA Investment Company Limited's 45th anniversary lecture. Corporate governance, transparency, strategic management are top critical areas of discussion as the conglomerate seeks more opportunity for growth and expansion.
It is the 45th anniversary commemorative lecture of OODUA Investment Company Limited, and the company is unveiling its new line of businesses as well as weighing more prospects.
We will take this opportunity to present some of our new businesses, including SWACO, Southwest Agri Company, that's our Greek investment vehicle, SWEET, Southwest Innovation and Technology Company, our innovation and technology investment business, and BITA.
Already rich in portfolio, OODUA Investment Company Limited is seeking to be a world-class conglomerate without losing sight of corporate governance and international best practices. The keynote speaker brings a new perspective to the topic, from regional player to global powerhouse, raising pertinent questions on regional development, inherent opportunities, and ownership of the corporate entity.
Possible for us to think of YCL in terms of the sovereign wealth fund for the Southwest. Now, through this mechanism, the 6 owner states will then set aside an agreed sum every budget cycle to be aggregated and professionally managed for the benefit of future generations.
There are other thought leaders in this auditorium, and they all agree on one thing, that there are more work to be done.
If what the progress we are making between 52 and 59 had continued, we'll be competing with Israel today. No, we don't die. It is the foundation that led the northern region to found their own development corporation. We are always blazing the trail. And why my governors cannot heap on that?
I think it's important for us to know that the future beacons, and we have a responsibility to accelerate the process of transforming this legacy company. It's a legacy company, and the vision of our forefather, you can't just but marvel. This is a time when they don't have computers. This is the time when they only have probably typewriters. So for them to even put that vision together is just unbelievable.
It is a rebirth of the organization, and the leadership say they are ready to move into the new era.
We are creating new entities, particularly in the growth areas of the world, growth areas of the economy, emerging technologies, agriculture, healthcare. You see the spending on healthcare, China with COVID. We are going to energy business. We're just starting with oil and gas because the perception is the perspective is that in the next decades, oil and gas inflation will be, but we are going to energy sources, that is solar power and things like that.
OODUA Investment Company was founded in 1976 by the 3 military governors of the then Western region. The ownership and assets have grown with substantial investment in real estate, food and beverages, agriculture, construction, manufacturing, hospitality, financial services, and oil and gas.
That takes us into more business news now with Teniola, SHOBOWALE.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Amarachi. The Tony Elumelu Foundation has announced its beneficiaries for the 2021 edition of its entrepreneurship program in Lagos. Through its 100 million entrepreneurship program, which launched in 2015, the TEF empowers thousands of entrepreneurs annually. The beneficiaries receive non-refundable seed capital, networking opportunities to promote their businesses to a global audience, mentorship and business management training.
Some big ways of achieving this.
The groundbreaking event, which was also streamed live online, unveiled nearly 5,000 young African entrepreneurs selected from 54 countries on the continent based on their innovative and impactful business ideas. At the official announcement of the selection program, the co-founder and trustee of the Tony Elumelu Foundation, Mrs. Awele Elumelu, commends the participants in this year's edition.
Let me start by commending all the 2021 applicants who applied, went through the rigorous 12-week training program and participated in the pitching competition. Your commitment and your dedication to enterprise truly inspires. You've continued to display the highest values of an African entrepreneur.
One of the beneficiaries of the Tony Elumelu Foundation from South Africa mentioned the support she had received from the foundation since the time of her application and how it has transformed her life and business.
I applied for the Tony Elumelu Foundation program this year. I became part of it this year, and I went through training with the mentors and everybody who was giving us support.
You're part of this current one?
Yes, yes. So I got support from the team, amazing support, incredible support, and they actually taught us a lot, developing your business plan, because it's one thing to have a concept in mind, but it's also another thing to implement what you have in mind.
Commenting on the selection announcement event, the founder, Mr. Tony Elumelu, gives words of advice to the successful beneficiaries.
Young African entrepreneurs, simple, let's work hard, let's dream dreams, and you should be very, very disciplined. You must remember that the road to success, is driven by discipline. That's the fuel you need to stay on that course.
Since the program's inception, the Tony Elumelu Foundation has trained over 1.5 million young Africans and funded over 10,000 entrepreneurs across the 54 African countries.
And now Nigeria's headline inflation figure for last month is expected to drop further to 16.31%, down from 16.63% recorded in September amid rising commodity prices. The latest forecast made by economic advisory firm Financial Derivatives Company, which would mark the 8th consecutive month decline, is credited to the base year effects. FDC explains that the continued moderation in the official inflation rate will embolden the Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee to maintain status quo at its upcoming and final meeting for the year on November the 22nd and the 23rd. Meanwhile, the National Bureau of Statistics is expected to release the official inflation figure for October on Monday, November the 15th. The world's richest man, Elon Musk, sold 639,737 shares in electric vehicle company Tesla on Thursday, totaling about $687 million. According to regulatory filings made public today, the company's shares fell by almost 4% in afternoon trading and are down about 15% week to date. The news comes days after the CEO of Tesla and his trusts sold about $5 billion worth of the company's stock. Well, the Bears had the upper hand at the close of today's trading session, knocking off the moderate gains recorded on Thursday by a wide margin after some investors renewed their appetite for profit-taking. Will Ibong has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The NGX market has suffered its third consecutive loss this week, sending the index spiraling further downward to 0.68% and the market value decreasing by a whopping 154 billion naira as investors continue to take profit. However, the rise observed in the volume and value of transactions reflects increased sell-offs in equities, especially in the stocks of market giant MTN Nigeria, down again, but today by 4.5%. Volume traded rose from 161.3 million units traded yesterday to 314.85 million units, while value jumped by about 100%. Now, Veritas Capital Assurance was the front runner in today's trading session. Its stocks moved up 9.52%, followed by Red Star Express and Consolidated Hallmark Insurance, while UPDC PLC led the losers. Meanwhile, banking stocks are breaking big moves as they dominated today's trade. Negative close for the final trading day, but a positive close for the week. So nothing to worry about, as profit-taking is only transitory. And that's the Stock Market Report. And Willie Bung is back to you.
And that's Business News Tonight. It's back to Amarachi for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Teniola. Still ahead on the news at 10, United States Secretary of State to visit Nigeria and 2 other African countries next week in his first official tour of the continent. Stay with us. Welcome back. An advisor to former U.S. President Donald Trump has been charged with contempt of Congress after refusing to testify about the January 6th U.S. Capitol riot. Steve Bannon was charged with 1 count related to his refusal to appear for a deposition and another related to his refusal to produce documents. Each count carries a minimum of 30 days and a maximum of 1 year in jail. In the meantime, the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, will be visiting Nigeria, Kenya, and Senegal next week from November 15th to the 20th. It's his first official visit to the continent. Mr. Blinken will be traveling to the Nigerian capital, Abuja, where he will meet President Muhammadu Buhari, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, and Foreign Affairs Minister Jeffrey Onyema. He will also be discussing furthering cooperation and revitalizing democracy. He'll deliver a speech on U.S.-Africa policy and engage with Nigerian entrepreneurs in the digital sector. We'll hear Simon Pusey with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A draft agreement at the COP26 climate summit has watered down commitments to end the use of coal and other fossil fuels as countries race to reach a deal after 2 weeks of talks. Talks went on through the night inside the green-lit summit meeting rooms in Glasgow. The draft agreement asks for much tighter deadlines for governments to reveal their plans to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and strengthen support for poorer countries fighting climate change. Outside the meetings, protesters wearing papier-mâché heads portraying world leaders said their real counterparts had so far failed to put out a planetary fire. They called on world leaders to make the most of the final hours. Meanwhile, activists deflated tyres on SUV-style cars in Glasgow in the closing days of COP26 in protest against their contribution to carbon emissions. Scottish media reported a number of vehicles had been targeted by a group called Tired of SUVs and quoted Scotland's police service as saying they would increase patrols in the area. Western members of the UN Security Council have condemned Belarus for the escalating crisis over migrants stranded on its border with Poland.
This tactic is unacceptable.
Thousands of people, many of them Kurds, arriving from the Middle East, are camping at the border with Poland, enduring freezing conditions in the hope of crossing into the EU. The migrants are mainly young men, but there are also women and children. Earlier, Belarus's leader threatened to cut off gas supplies to Europe if new sanctions were imposed. The EU accuses Belarus of using the migrants to destabilize the European Union's eastern border. Russia, Belarus's main ally, rejected the accusations. A Myanmar military court has sentenced the US journalist Danny Fenster to 11 years in jail. Fenster was found guilty of breaching immigration law, unlawful association, and encouraging dissent against the military. He was earlier this week slapped with 2 additional charges of sedition and terrorism, which carry a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. His trial on the new charges will begin on the 16th of November. The UN says the Sudanese army chief's decision to appoint a new ruling council that he leads makes it harder to return to the constitutional order. It's after Sudan's army chief, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, was sworn in as head of a new transitional council he appointed to lead the country following the military takeover late last month. The new 14-member sovereign council includes civilians representing Sudan's regions, but none of the Forces for Freedom and Change that had been sharing power with the military in a democratic transition since 2019. A Rwandan YouTube star has been sentenced to 7 years in jail for criticizing the government. Dieudonné Niyonsenga, known as CHUKWUMA or Iron, was found guilty of forgery, impersonation and humiliating state officials. He denies the allegations and says he will appeal. His videos have accused soldiers of serious abuses against slum dwellers during a coronavirus lockdown. Another popular YouTube personality recently received a 15-year sentence for inciting violence. The French president has met with his Italian counterpart Mario Draghi ahead of a security summit on Libya. Emmanuel Macron also welcomed Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi at the Elysee Presidential Palace for a working lunch. He later chaired the International Summit on Libya in the attendance of United States Vice President Kamala Harris and acting German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Pope Francis has said that the world has become deaf to the plight of the poor and condemned those who become disproportionately rich while blaming the needy for their own fate. Francis travelled to Assisi, the birthplace of St. Francis, to meet with about 500 poor people from Europe ahead of the Catholic Church's World Day of the Poor, which will be marked around the world on Sunday. Francis, who was elected in 2013 as the first Latin American pope, has made defence of the poor a cornerstone of his pontificate. And finally, a penguin that got lost has found itself on the shores of New Zealand, at least 3,000 kilometres from its natural habitat of Antarctica. The Adelie penguin, who has now been affectionately named Pingu by locals, was found on the coast. Rescuers took him to the Department of Conservation New Zealand, where he was fed and cared for after being dehydrated. A few days later, the bird was released back into the wild. It is only the 3rd recorded incident of an Adelie penguin being found on New Zealand's coast. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Time enough for sports news. A sad outcome for Rivers Angels as they crash out of the inaugural CAF Women's Champions League despite securing victory over Vihiga Queens of Kenya in their last group game. Rivers Angels put 4 goals past their opponents, but despite the huge win, they have also been eliminated after Mamelodi Sundowns and Asfa played out a goalless draw in the group's other match. Nigeria's Super Eagles have put finishing touches to their preparation ahead of the FIFA World Cup qualifier against Liberia in Morocco on Saturday. The players say they are in a confident mood as they seek passage to the next round of qualifiers for the Mondial. Well, the game will be played 5 p.m. Nigerian time. Barcelona forward Sergio Aguero has quashed rumours circulating that he could be forced to retire due to a heart condition. The Argentinian insists he will follow medical advice for 90 days. He will not play during this period while he receives treatment and his health is monitored. And Gareth Southgate is expected to sign a new 2-year contract extension as England manager. His current deal is due to end after the Qatar World Cup in December next year. And that's a wrap on sports news.
Thanks, Ayatunde. And the main news again. Former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Buratal, today addressed military personnel at Jaji, Kaduna State, where he said that continuous maintenance of security operations is the pathway towards achieving utmost efficiency in the fight against insurgency and banditry. That'll be all on News at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.